Awesome. Welcome, everyone. I know there's a bunch of people coming in. We'll give it here just a second, but excited to get going.
Yeah, super excited for this, Colin. It's gonna be great.
Awesome. Well, while we're waiting for more people to join, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us your name, where you're joining from, maybe if you even have some fun weekend plans. I know for a lot of people in the United States, it's a long weekend. I think globally it's Valentine's tomorrow. I don't know if that's a global holiday. As you can tell by my enthusiasm, I don't have any big plans for Valentine's. Coming up on a 15-year wedding anniversary that, you know, Valentine's is just another day, unfortunately, with a bunch of kids running around the house. So
Yeah, it looks like we have people coming in from all over. A couple from North Carolina. That's actually where I'm originally from, so that's exciting.
awesome. I see one in Yuma, Arizona. I'm in Queen Creek, Arizona. I mean, a few hours away, but I have driven through Yuma and am familiar. Yeah, we're all over the place. Love it. Surprise, Arizona, bunch of
Ooh,
love
in
it.
the Dominican Republic. Awesome.
Yeah,
Welcome.
this is awesome. Okay. Well, appreciate it. So let's get rolling. As a quick introduction, I'm Colin Mangum. I am a senior director of product marketing here at Lucid. As I mentioned, I'm based in Queen Creek, Arizona, which is kind of Southeast Valley near Phoenix. And I've been at Lucid for just over 7 years. So I've been here quite a while. In the past year or so, I've been really focused on Agile use cases, working closely with a lot of our Agile customers and Agile users. So really excited about today. And I'm glad to have my colleague Spencer Cowley here with me. Spencer, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Colin. Super excited to be here. I haven't been here as long as Colin has, just about a year at Lucid, but I've been working on our Agile feature set for last year. It's been a lot of fun, and we're super excited to share that with you today. I'm based here in Utah as well in the States, and so it's a little cold today, but that's okay.
Awesome. Well, really excited to get into our Jira and Azure DevOps integrations today. But before we get started, I just want to cover a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. I know we're going to move fast. So if it's difficult to follow along at times, you can review the recording. We want to try to get as much in as possible. So you can expect an email with a link to that recording along with other resources within a day or two. So it'll be sent to the email you use to register for this webinar. So be on the lookout. That email will also include some additional resources to make sure you get the most out of these integrations. So we'll make sure and take care of you there. And we don't want this webinar to just be us talking at you. So we want to hear from you. So feel free to hop into the chat, share your thoughts. We'll ask for questions along the way. So if you have questions specifically for our Lucid team, please use the Q&A function. So it's down there in the Zoom bar, different than chat. That way our team can stay on top of questions that we answer and we can mark them off, and we'll try to answer some of those live as well. So as we're going, we'll take a peek there and we'll try to do things as we go. And finally, live captions are enabled for this webinar, so you can go ahead and turn those on if you'd like. So before we get into it, we're going to start with a question that hopefully isn't too triggering for everyone on this call, but we want to hear, what challenges have you experienced with Jira or ADO, right? I'm assuming that you're all here today because you've used or use one of these, and they're essential for planning and tracking work, but I'm sure you can think of ways that they've also made work a little bit difficult. We can relate, and we've talked to lots of people that can relate. So please put into the chat some of the things that maybe make it a little difficult as you're working with your team using Jira and ADO. This is a chance to air your grievances.
All right, let's see. We have Pamela. She shared it's sometimes hard to find features or backlog items or to things we've worked in the past on.
Yep. Ability to conduct sprint events effectively. This is one we hear all the time, Steve. It resonates, and we're hopefully going to share some things today that will get you excited and we'll make that easier.
Yeah. Sprint planning can be a chore sometimes when we're working out of multiple backlogs. Yep. I hear on that.
Awesome. So many coming in. Yeah. Okay. These resonate. Tracking progress, tracking stories, working both tickets and in Jira and stories in ADO. That's an interesting one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to hit on a ton of this. This is awesome. So again, we've heard a lot of these. I would say a lot of them come down to these kind of core pieces, right? We hear it's difficult for people to stay engaged with Jira and ADO. It's easy for people to check out in large meetings. We heard one of those called out, right? If someone's just watching someone type for two hours while you're doing, whatever sprint planning or backlog refinement, like it's not engaging. We've all been in a meeting where one person pulls it up, screen shares, like again, not the most engaging experience. It's difficult to have productive conversations. And another one that we hear a lot is Jira and ADO can just be a little bit rigid, and you want to be able to move things around. You want to be a little bit more dynamic, right? There's not an easy way for people to see what's happening or provide feedback or brainstorm together. And in fact, oftentimes that rigidity is the limitations that maybe leadership have put into place with lots of required fields, so that if you go to add something, even if it's like, I just want to do this really quick and simple to capture the idea, I'm now got to go through a ton of things. And, obviously there's reasons for those fields, but it can slow down how a team works. And, I saw one of them here as well, dashboards, and just kind of the flexibility in visualizing things, especially maybe to communicate to stakeholders in a more like simple and visual way. And I would say, yeah, go ahead, Spencer.
No, yeah. I just wanted to add in, like, Colin, so true. It's something that we hear about a lot, and especially I know you're about to jump into this on the transcribing back, but just the flexibility I think that we're going to share here with Lucid of being able to show this in different ways and in different situations is really powerful. I know a lot of people have mentioned even just tracking stuff across all these different portfolios or projects can be challenging. So I've really heard that to be beneficial as people use Lucid.
Yeah, love that. And I would say the one that comes up maybe like the most painful for those who are trying to be more collaborative, they're using whiteboards, they're using Lucid, is just the inefficiency of transcribing information back, right? It's like, hey, we're trying to have better sprint events, but then we end up spending hours afterwards typing up things, and it's just so inefficient, and the team gets frustrated with having those inefficiencies, right? So again, think of that on a team level. Think about how truly painful it is when you go teams of teams, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. Like PI planning, quarterly planning, big room planning, whatever your organization calls it, that's traditionally been an event that's been done in person. And as we moved kind of into more of a hybrid work environment or even a fully remote environment, like a lot of the tools that we have out there don't facilitate like that transcription. And we got to push everything back into our system of record, and it can be challenging. And so that's, I think, one of the things especially that I love sharing with people is how Lucid makes that so much easier. So thanks for walking through those, Colin.
Yeah, no, perfect. So again, we're going to jump into what this actually looks like and spend the majority of the time actually in a demo, following along, seeing how it works in Lucid. But we want to make sure that it makes this easier to follow the demo. It's just kind of give you a high level of how these integrations kind of work and what makes this process more efficient. So Lucid allows your teams to hop into one canvas to collaborate, brainstorm, prioritize ideas, estimate work, and visualize dependencies in real time. You can import Jira issues or ADO work items into Lucid as data-backed cards. And again, we're going to show all of this that have a two-way sync. So any changes you make will automatically be reflected in Jira or ADO or vice versa. So you're not wasting that time, documenting information in multiple places, and everyone can have confidence that they have the most up-to-date information and they're not worried about being in a whiteboard and go, I don't know if this is still accurate. We did this planning 3 days ago or 3 weeks ago, right? You can also organize these cards in different ways in a dynamic table or a timeline. You can include them in an interactive activity to determine priority, and a lot more in conjunction with Lucid's other features and capabilities. Again, we're going to go through a lot of these today. You can convert sticky notes from Lucid into issues and work items to make sure that your team's tracking those. You can visualize dependencies. So again, lots of awesome stuff. So both these integrations are available to enterprise accounts. So if you're on an enterprise account, talk to your account admin about setting up these integrations if you're not seeing them, and we'll show you where they are in the canvas so that you know, and we'll share some information so that you can get things turned on. And if you're not currently on an enterprise account, we'll drop a link in the chat if you want to reach out and get more information, talk to someone, understand the differences and all of that. I would also call out that Lucid is also FedRAMP authorized at the FedRAMP moderate level for our friends in public sector or those who maybe require it because of being contractors. One note to call out is our Jira integration is available in our FedRAMP environment. However, our ADO integration is not at this time. So again, if you're public sector, you need FedRAMP, let us know. And if you have questions, we can kind of talk through that. So I know that was a ton. I tried to talk fast. I want to make sure to leave as much time as possible for Spencer to get into the demo and really go through it. So we're going to walk through a few scenarios so that you can see kind of how these integrations work within a real world situation. The majority of the demo today is going to be in Jira, but we'll call out a couple things with ADO and we'll show you where to pull those in. We do that because the integration is extremely similar and we don't want to waste time kind of showing you both. So we'll kind of point things out along the way, but it's a little cleaner to do it that way. So hopefully that sets the stage. Again, we'll keep an eye on chat and Q&A. But I think with that, Spencer, you ready to show the fun stuff?
Yeah, let's do it, Colin. I'll jump into our demo board right here. So, and I'll just call out, it's a live demo. You always know sometimes things can go a little funny. We'll do our best to go through everything we want to cover, but I appreciate everyone's patience. So we really wanted to start the demo out today, focusing on team level events, or like as you're working through with your Scrum team, there are certain things that can be a little challenging to do just natively in Jira or ADO or whatever tool you're using. Now, one of the common, flows that we've heard from customers that's really important is this process of backlog refinement, or going through and looking at the different tickets that you may have, or issues or work items, depending on what software you're using, and actually going through talking about those with the team, and then estimating them and getting them put onto your sprints or upcoming work that you're doing. And Lucid makes this really easy in a couple different ways. So one, like Colin mentioned, we can bring work in from Jira or from ADO into Lucid and use these two-way synced cards. I'm going to show you a couple ways you can do that. One of my favorites is actually I can open up, Jira, and I can go find a certain story or item that I want to bring onto the canvas. And once I find that, I can just copy the link and I can go back into Lucid here as well. Let me just go here, and then I can just paste it. And right away, we can see that that's been brought in onto the canvas in this two-way card. I can see the title, I can see the status here. I can even go through and assign an assignee to it. And there's a couple other features we'll walk through as we're going through it, but that's the first way that's really easy, is just copy, paste. Now, let's say you want to import a lot more than just one issue at a time. We have some great options for that. So here on the left toolbar, there's a couple different ways you can get to the Jira settings. You can click on this little card icon here and then click on Jira, or you can just click on this Jira icon directly from your toolbar. Pro tip for you advanced users, you can actually go customize this toolbar as well. So if you're like, hey, I want to use Jira all the time, you can move it up and you can just click on it right from there. And from there, we can click on this import Jira issues. And we have some built-in, filters that you can use to go through and filter down to the issues that you want to bring in. You can also use a JQL query. So if you want to, have a specific query that you want to copy over from Jira, you can use that. You can then go take those and import them onto the canvas as well. And you can see those have been brought in. Now, for the process of backlog refinement, there's a couple great things that I like to do with my team as we do this. One, I love that Lucid provides kind of this collaborative environment for people to take a look at the tickets. We can drop sticky notes, as we're thinking through, okay, how do we actually want to implement this? We need to do X, Y, and Z. We also have a super powerful story point estimation feature. And Colin, I'm going to have you jump in here and help me out here. So as we're going through and estimating tickets, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it can be hard to get an accurate response or feel from the team on how much work something's going to be. And so Lucid makes it really easy with our team estimation activity to do that. All I need to do is I can take one of these story point icons and I just drag it over here to an item I want to estimate. And I can drop it here in the drop here to estimate with your team. And now I can do this. I can have my engineers that are going through and doing this do that as well. And as everyone goes in and votes, you can see that we can click on this afterwards and see how many votes we have for each one. We can see who voted. So, if Colin and I are saying, hey, this is going to be 2 or 3 points, we can talk through it. And then once we've made a decision, we can actually apply that estimate and we can see this is syncing right back to Jira as well as with the rest of our integration. So we have edits coming in from Jira and ADO, edits going back in sync, and everything will stay in sync as well.
Yeah.
Now,
Spencer, just to jump in, I love this one. This is actually, I have got the chance to be on lots of customer calls over the past 6 months or so with some of these new features. And I was on one where they literally teed me up perfectly. They were like, hey, one of the things we do as a team is we go through and we do these estimates. We like to do one item at a time,
Yeah.
time box it. We go through. Is there a simple way to like set up a card, do this? They like, and I was like, yes, in fact. So what they did is you can see like your Lucid Cards bank there. Like they
Yeah.
would literally pull one out, discuss it, everyone would vote, they'd go through, have a discussion, hit apply estimate, and then they would move that over into like a frame that was like estimated. And so that's how they would work through it. And they were like, oh, this is so seamless. We already kind of do something like this, but it's not nearly as like collaborative or data driven. And so, yeah, again, your team probably, everyone does something different. If there's one thing I've learned talking to agile teams and folks is it doesn't matter if you're all in the same framework, doesn't matter if you're Scrum, Safe, Kanban, everyone does it a little bit different, right? And that's okay. We've built Lucid in a way to hopefully make it really flexible so that no matter how you're applying Agile, no matter how you're running some of these Agile events, that you can use Lucid as a flexible way to make it work for your organization and your team.
Yeah, Colin, I'm so glad you brought that up because that was where I was going next is the flexibility, right? So we have some of these, fields just on the card here, like our title or our story points or our assignee and status here as well. You can even just, adjust the status. But then we also very much understand that a lot of your organizations have unique fields that you might want to be able to use with these integrations. And so you can go here on a card, and you can click on it and click this little pencil icon. And from here, you'll be able to see even more fields that are not just available straight on the card. And if you have additional fields you want to bring in, I can click on settings here. I can go to my Jira fields, and I can go add we have support for many, many types of fields. And if you don't see support for a certain type of field that you feel is important, please let us know. We're always taking a look and adding support for new ones. But from there, I can add in, additional fields that I feel like are important. And it makes it really easy for me to then go in and see those and edit, my parent as well from here. Now, it looks
Awesome.
like we have,
I
oh,
was going to say, we've got a handful of questions that I'm going to tee you up, Spencer, if you're good with
yeah,
that, to just show off a few things. So
yeah,
number one is if you can show how you access the Azure DevOps integration. Obviously, it's
yeah.
kind of the same spot as Jira, but I think that'll just help folks kind of visualize where that's at.
Yeah, so all you're going to do is you're going to click on this More Tools icon in your left toolbar. And then if you scroll down, there's going to be integrations here. Now, if for some reason that's not showing up, we'll make sure to throw an article in the chat as well. It helps in our article. Or you can search our marketplace for any of the integrations that are available, and you can go from there. So that can be helpful if you're having trouble. And like I mentioned earlier, super easy to just grab it, drag it over to your left toolbar, and then it's easy to go from there.
Perfect. And then while you're over in that kind of more tools, I think people are really loving the simplicity of like, where are you getting these story point banks and even like those Lucid cards? This is one of the highest, like, it's one of the most simple things, and I've now grown accustomed to like how nice and convenient it is. But can you show like, where do I get all of these just things that make my life way easier?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So more tools, and then we're going to look for quick tools here. And if you're having trouble finding it, you can always search here at the top. But once you open up quick tools, you'll see that we have way more than just the few that we've shown here on the canvas. You can bring in sticky note banks. You can bring in, custom ones if you want to create some of your own little shapes. You can also even bring in stickers. And then you see we have Lucid cards here. And then if you scroll down, really specific to what we're talking about today, we even have ones that make it really easy to import, create, or convert different shapes to Jira issues or to Azure DevOps work items. So those are available here and can be super helpful as you're bringing on new people who may not be as familiar with the software. So you'll
Yeah.
see I have one here to import Jira issues. And all I do is click that, opens up the same thing. And I saw we just had a question as well about creating cards in Lucid and having them push back to Jira. There's two ways you can do that. One is to do this create Jira issue, where you can just create and fill out the information from here, and that'll create a brand new one. The other option is to use our Lucid cards, which a lot of people love to do because it kind of allows this draft state of sorts, where you're just planning stuff out, you want to move quick and plan out what your upcoming work's going to look like. And you can just drag one out. You can go here and say, this is our task. This is, the description. And you can even add estimates as well. So just like what we kind of went through earlier. And from there, I can go and click on more and convert to issue or card and click Jira issue. And then
Yeah.
add all the fields you need. If you need to add additional fields, they're here. And then we can click convert. And there we go, push back.
Love it. Yeah, that I've heard that one as well for organizations that are like really stringent about like what can go in Jira and it needs to be more built out. It's like they like working in Lucid Cards while they're brainstorming, and it's like, well, we don't want to put this in Jira yet because it's not finalized. So this is kind of a nice middle ground. And then hopefully that answered lots of questions. Thank you, Spencer. One person asked, like, can you customize those story points or shape banks? Yes. In those quick tools, one of the options is custom shape bank. So you can drag literally any shape, including different numbers, into that. And then it just becomes like an infinite thing I can pull out. So again, you can do that with stickies, you can do that with shapes, you can do it with numbers, whatever you want. And then it just becomes your bank. So you can create those however you want. So again, super flexible. I would say that's what we strive for at Lucid, is like, how do we give you a tailored experience when you need it, with the flexibility for like everyone does things a little bit different. So now that we've messed up your beautiful board, Spencer, let's keep going, and we will do our best to stay on top of questions. You guys are so engaged and I love it.
Yeah, no, hey, Colin, no worries about my board. This is for everyone to help learn. And so I'm more than willing to go off script here. So thank you. The one other thing I just wanted to call out too is sometimes you might be looking for additional information that is not available here in Lucid. You can always click straight on the item key here, and that'll bring me straight to Jira, and I can see everything from that. So super easy to go back and forth if you need to. Otherwise, lots of stuff you can do directly from Lucid. So now we're going to go into, after backlog refinement, a lot of times we need to go through and do sprint planning, which I've heard can be challenging across different teams. Now, one of the things I love to use Lucid for is sprint planning, but not just on the work side, but also considering the capacity of our team, our ability to get stuff done this sprint as well. So oftentimes we'll have everyone come in, we can throw in like, what other commitments do we need to think about? Because we understand a big issue for a lot of agile teams, or big concern, is being able to actually deliver the work that we've committed to, so that we can reach those milestones that we set and make sure that our customers are happy. So it can be helpful to kind of have that initial conversation. Hey, I'm going out, for a few days next week. So that's going to adjust how much we can get done. And then from there, we can actually bring in our work from Jira. Now, I've gone through a couple other ways you can bring in work, but my favorite is using JQL queries. So from Jira, I can take, a JQL query like I have right here, and we're going to use this dynamic table shape here. Now, to access this shape, you're just going to go to your left toolbar, and there's a little organizers icon, and I can actually go ahead and drag out a dynamic table here and bring it on the canvas. It's another one of those that, hey, if you use it a lot, you can always bring it into your toolbar. And from there, I can click on a dynamic table, and we can see the Jira icon is here as well. And I can actually paste in, a JQL query. I can search for it, and then I can sync these issues. It's showing me which ones pop up. And that will bring all of those issues directly into this dynamic table. Now, I will just call out, this is one of the cases where there's some slight differences between our Azure DevOps integration and our Jira integration. This JQL query sync feature is available for Jira, and you can also use ADO cards in our dynamic table environment. You just have to import them via the other methods that we kind of talked about. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
And as you're getting into this one, obviously you're about to show more power that exists within these dynamic tables, but I recently watched a customer call. I don't know, I won't say her name. We don't have permission, but if she's on this webinar, know you're a legend already at Lucid, who just went nuts when it was like she had used a different whiteboarding tool a long time. She wasn't excited that they were telling her she needed to use Lucid. And she's like, I tried that dynamic table thing and brought in Jira issues, and it was magic. This was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, I was sold immediately. And then she started doing like our Agile badge course and everything, and was just like all in, telling her teams how to use it. So obviously you're about to show even more to hopefully get people excited, but this is a really powerful feature that, again, we've heard like consistently is a game changer for folks.
Yeah. Thanks, Colin. I know who you're talking about. And we love hearing from our customers about how much they love this feature. So just to show some of the power, what you can see here is I brought these Jira issues in, or you can bring your ADO work items in as well. And you can see that I can actually set the rows and the columns to be based off of that actual Jira data, which can be super powerful. So in this case, I've set it by status. So I can see it's created, a row for my to-do, my in progress, and done items. I can even just transition issues between statuses just by dragging and dropping. And even if you have fields that are required in that actual transition, we will also bring those in so that, according to whatever Jira workflow you've set up, we support, a lot of those different things that you have there. In addition, I've also pivoted or set the columns to be assignee here. So I can easily see like these are all the ones assigned to Seth, and I can even, drag through here and adjust, and that's syncing right back to Jira and assigning that person out. So if we're looking at the beginning of the sprint, we want to make sure that, we're getting some of these initial tickets assigned to people as we start the sprint. I can easily just drag and drop, and that is assigning that workout in Jira as well. And this flexibility goes way beyond just status and assignee. You can see we have estimate here if you're wanting to do story points, and you can visualize it in that way. You can look at sprints, parents, projects, and we have some additional functionality we're looking into to bring support for even more of those fields that are important to you in your workflows.
Awesome. While you're on the topic of fields, we had a few questions come in so I'll try to hit them. So you talked about some fields being unable to deselect when you're going through and customizing. Can you explain like what makes those like locked or unable to deselect?
Yeah, so I'm assuming that we're talking about these assignee, description, labels, and priority. I actually was just talking to my team about this week. I think the reason was when we initially built this out, these were some of the critical fields from Jira, and also they're stored a little differently. We're always open to feedback in case you're looking at this and you're like, I want to remove that. Like, let us know in the chat, and we'll definitely take that into account as we look at what work we want to take on next.
Awesome. And then similarly, and I know the answer to this only because I had to ask you once. Does every user in Lucid need a unique Jira account, or does it pass information through like a centralized way? Like, how does that work as far as that connection goes?
Yeah, that's a great question, Colin. And I'll actually just show this right here on the canvas because I like using our own product. So we have a admin level connection and a user level connection for these integrations. And that admin connection usually needs to be like a Jira admin, for example, or an ADO or Microsoft admin to connect to Jira. And that will allow us to have like the fastest syncing experience as well as a couple other things. But then the user will also need to connect with their own integration or their own credentials with Jira. And this is actually great for a couple of reasons. One, it means that every change that's made in Lucid respects the permissions of that actual user. So if you're ever worried, and we've talked to a lot of people about this, like, oh, I have only certain projects are available to certain people, like you're not going to be able to go in and edit, a project in Jira from Lucid that you don't normally have access to. So we respect those permissions as well. So yes, it will need to be like this relationship of your account needs to be connected to a Jira user account. Then we'll also require an admin connection as well in most cases. So
awesome. And I think you're about to show this, but one of the questions was like, okay, you use that JQL query. Does it automatically pull in new issues created within that? So I'll just tee you up for what I think you're going to show next anyways.
Yeah, perfect. No, exactly, Colin. So you can see here that we now have this query added. And all I need to do is I just need to click this refresh button, and it'll actually go pull or remove issues based off of what's been added to this query in Jira. So if I go back over to Jira and I add an additional story to our sprint Q3 sprint 1 here. So we've just added project 136, and I just go back here and refresh. You'll see that that one issue was just brought in. So makes it super easy to make sure that we're not missing any work. And yeah.
Awesome. And we've gotten the question a few times. That same kind of refresh does not work the same way for ADO. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, so this functionality doesn't. I actually just talked to the product manager that is over that integration this week, and we're exploring options to add some similar functionality in the future. I have no comment as to when or that'll be added, but if you are looking forward to that, or if you think that would be helpful, it would be extremely nice to have you comment in the chat so that we can pass that feedback along as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's come up, so that's part of why I was asking. So awesome. So yeah, love this. This dynamic table can stay up to date, but it also, like you said, respects the data. So as you're moving things around, it's updating Jira, it's getting logged in so that people know who's making the changes. But you can have, as everyone can imagine, sprint planning with something like this as you're moving things around is going to be a little more engaging than if we were watching Spencer type into Jira for this 30 minutes. So love it.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone that's throwing in the chat about that request for ADO. I will just call out this refresh feature may not be available, but it's super easy to drag ADO cards in as well. So you don't need to worry about not being able to use them with dynamic tables. You can bring them in, set your rows and columns that way as well. So yeah. Okay, just for the sake of time, we have a lot more we want to cover, so I'm going to continue to move on. Now, one of the common things that we've heard from customers as well is that we want to be able to get a sense for how is the team feeling about our ability to actually complete the work this sprint. And that's where these visual activities come in Lucid. So if you just go on your left toolbar here, there's a little rocket icon, and you can click on that. You can see we have so many different ways to use visual activities. And one of my favorites is actually to use this at the end of sprint planning to see how are people feeling about actually being able to complete the sprint work. So I can go in here as a user and I can set, oh, I'm feeling pretty confident. And then afterwards, we can go in and see how does everyone feel. We see this kind of average, and I can see individuals to see, okay, Spencer, I'm feeling pretty confident, but it looks like we have Shannon, she's not feeling as confident. So maybe we need to talk through, okay, what are some of the concerns there to make sure we have alignment across the board. And you can even make these activities also hide the actual user that does the response in case that's important as well. So super helpful. And we're going to go and continue on from here to a quarterly planning example, because that's another use case that's common.
As you're pulling that up, one thing I'd call out, because I've seen a couple questions here as well. If you're looking for like a starting point that already utilizes a lot of these features, once this pulls up, Spencer, if you don't mind showing like where you access templates, because again, we've created quite a few templates, and I'll emphasize the importance of like, make those templates your own, but it gives you a great starting point. I know a lot of people have what we refer to as like blank canvas syndrome, right?
Yep.
You're just looking at a white canvas. You're like, well, I know a bunch of stuff I want to do, but where do you start? And if you're like me, you hate like designing it in some ways, and you're worried that it's going to look off. Use a template, delete certain things, add certain things, but we can give you a starting point with like, here's an agenda, or again, we'll bring certain features on the canvas. We'll give you those estimate points for certain ones. So again, Spencer will show you where to find those, but please go explore. We've created a lot of new Agile templates over the past few months, and they are a really helpful starting point that you can customize and then share your version or share your organization's version.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Colin. So I'll just show that on your left toolbar at the very top, there's a templates icon, and you can click on that and you can see we have so many different types of templates. For this group, I think especially the Agile section would be helpful. We have several different types of templates for estimation, sprint planning, backlog refinement, program release planning, retros, which I know a lot of people love using Lucid for. So check those out because we have lots of different options there, road mapping, etc., even daily stand-up and different sprint meetings. So definitely would advise people to check that out and see what we have to help you get started there.
Okay,
Now,
I'm going to interject with one more question.
Yeah.
Because I saw this one. I actually got this exact same question on a live call yesterday.
Yeah.
You showed how you can turn visual activities to be anonymous, right?
Yeah.
So you can't see that. There's not a way to do that with the story point estimation, correct?
Not currently. I will say when you're actually going through and doing it, not like we'll actually hide the other person's cursor, so you won't be able to see like what they're dragging in. So if I go and do this, like you wouldn't be able to see that on your screen, Colin, and it wouldn't be until afterwards when you're actually looking at the votes where you'd have to like hover over this to be able to see. So during the actual process, you can make it pretty easy to hide what other people are voting.
And you can even see that right here, like as I go into here, just for those watching. I have now just done my vote, but you didn't see my cursor that whole time. So
yeah, there you go. The other question we just got was about having this integrated with Jira Data Center. Yes, we do have support for Jira Data Center. So I'm sure one of our wonderful support in the chat will be able to drop a link to a help center article that can walk through that as well. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and work through a couple other examples. And one of my favorite features here is our dependency mapping feature. This was something we recently released in the last few months, and we're going to actually show it in the context of doing a higher level roadmap as well. So there's a couple different things that we have here. So one, I've gone ahead and brought in a lot of different epics that we might want to be planning through in a quarterly planning or a PI planning session. And what we've heard from a lot of people is one, that it can be a little challenging to understand like, oh, are there dependencies that we have between teams? But also, what is the timeline to actually deliver this work? So I'm going to show both of those in this example here. So I'm using a timeline shape here on the canvas, and I'll show you how to find that. It's in the same place you would find a dynamic table. You just click on that container icon and you can drag out a timeline. And this can make it really easy to visualize those dates that we have available on the cards. And then from there, I can drag all of my cards here just into my timeline. And you can see right now, they're all at the beginning. But let's say I already have dates that are set in Jira and I want them to stay in sync. There's a way to do that now. So I can click on the edit details or this pencil icon here. I can go to settings. And you can see this is saying that these date fields aren't configured yet. And then from there, under Lucid fields, there's a way that I can even say, okay, in Lucid, I want my start date to be start date from Jira, and I want my end date to be due date. And I can apply this and say, oh, I want this to be the same for all my different projects and issue types. And then once I save that, look at that. All of my stories or my epics are now synced to the dates that we have in Jira, which can be super helpful. It's all in sync, and I can even make changes. Let's say we can identify, hey, this is actually going to go much longer than we think. We can even adjust this and say, okay, it's going to October 11th. And then this is actually syncing right now back to Jira and keeping everything in sync, which is great. And from here, this view can be helpful, but let's say we want to break it out by team. There's a way to do that. So I can actually go click here on this row, set it to team. And now I have these all using the team field from Jira visualized out. So I can see, okay, this is what Team Alpha, Team Delta is working on. And there's a few questions that we have coming in the chat. So hierarchy view, that's a great question, Steve. Let's just show one way you can do that. We do have support for the parent field in Dynamic Tables. So if I had some of these stories in a dynamic table here, just go ahead and import a couple issues. I can actually go ahead and sort them by the parent of these issues. So I've gone ahead and brought those in, and I'm going to set this to parent here. And you can see that this is now sorting some of these by the actual parent epic for both of these. So that can be a helpful way to do this. And then as well, like I mentioned, this can help to show dependencies between teams. So what you'll notice on some of these epic cards is that we have this one linked issue or two linked issues. This is available on both ADO cards as well as Jira cards, but I can click on this and I can see the linked issues or the links between Jira issues or work items from Jira or ADO visualized right on the canvas, which is super powerful. So this is coming straight from Jira. I can see that there's actually another story that is blocking this story. I can click import and that'll bring that right onto the canvas. So it can be very easy for me to identify, hey, we need to plan for this as well. And then on top of that, I can actually create relationships straight from the canvas. So let's say I recognize that these two stories need to be related. I can just drag a line straight here and I can click, oh, this is a, relates to. And this pulls actually that list straight from Jira. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, Lucid doesn't support this link type. We have those here as well. Now, a common question I get about this is, do you support like a parent-child relationship between these stories or these work items? We actually do an ADO, so that's something that is available, and it's something we're also looking into for Jira. So if you have feedback about that, if that would be something that would be helpful for your workflows, feel free to drop that in the chat as well.
Awesome. People are loving this. You're getting, when we demo dependency mapping, lots of nice, that's cool, love this. Just to confirm, I know dependency mapping is an ADO, all that timeline stuff, same thing. If I'm an ADO, the dates sync. If I change a date on the timeline, that updates the card, which updates ADO. All that functionality is essentially sixes between ADO and Jira. Is that correct?
I believe so, but I want someone in the chat maybe to correct me if I'm wrong. So if we could have one of our chat supports.
I'm also pretty sure, but yeah, for those helping us out in the chat, they can double check that just so we don't say anything wrong. Looks like one of our users is confirming. So that's the power of community. And I agree. It's funny. I was literally about to say, so Amy, you read my mind. Like, this is such a cool way to see the whole picture. I've seen one of our customers use this outside of a timeline, and their board just looked like a mess of spaghetti because all they had basically done was imported a ton. And they were grabbing cards and just moving them to create space so that they could kind of see the lines and almost create their own path of like, okay, well, what would this look like? And they were kind of mapping it out and doing their planning. And it was really powerful for them because, again, you all have been in Jira ADO, which are, again, really powerful tools for what they are, but it's hard to get this kind of grasp on it, right? And so anyways, very, very powerful.
No, I appreciate it. This is great to walk through. And the other thing I want to call out here is that there's even a little bit more you can do with dependency mapping. So sometimes you may have a lot of relationships that are viewed on the board, and you want to go through and maybe only show like only the blocks relationships in a certain scenario. Or on a different board, you only want to show the relates to or a specific custom link from your Jira instance. What you can do is you can actually go to the Jira icon here on the left. And you can see we have the import thing or the import Jira issues button that we've done. We can create new Jira issues, but you can also visualize those linked issues and control a few different things. So if you want to like easily just show all links and hide all links during a session or on the board, I can do that. And that'll easily, do that. I can also show and then filter down. So if I only want to show, blocks relationships, that can be a pretty easy way to do that as well. Now, hot off the press, we released this actually yesterday. I want to show one new feature that I think a lot of people here are going to love. So let's say I'm going through and I'm mapping out, some underlying tasks that we believe are going to be needed to achieve this epic up here. What people had to do in the past is, convert each of these cards into Jira cards or Jira or ADO cards, and then from there connect these. Now what you can do is you can actually select these cards as well as these lines in between. I can go and actually say, I want to convert these to Jira issues. And once I've done that, I can say, hey, I want this to be a task. And then I can choose the relationships between these. So let's say you've mapped out like this whole sequencing of work and you want to make sure that that's reflected in Jira. I can do the exact same thing. I can say, hey, I want this to be blocks relationships. And boom, that's been added as well. So it can make it really easy in that kind of convert to Jira flow once we've established what workflow we're going to do to make it done in just one step. And I will call out too, these Lucid cards that we've used throughout the session are not the only ones that are available to convert to Jira cards. Let's say you just want to use sticky notes. It's super easy to do that as well. I just select these sticky notes. I go down here and click convert to Jira issue as well. Now, the one other thing I'll say is, remember how we talked about those quick tools earlier? That can be even easier. I can select these and just click the button here. And now I can convert those to Jira as well. And that is syncing right now. So just wanted to share that with everyone here on the board. Okay, we're going to continue on, Colin, unless you had anything specific you wanted to.
No, I think we've got a few other questions that I think we can hit. One of the ones that did come up, and I think we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. We'll also reach out to you all directly, but if they're getting like error signs like this one, their ADO work items have a yield sign saying like the story hasn't been estimated. But after doing the activity or adding a story point effort, it still shows up. Is that a field mapping issue probably that you showed earlier? Or do you have any ideas?
Yeah, it potentially could. I remember I was talking with our good friend that's over the ADO integration. And I know they're actively making or planning on making improvements there as well, which I think can help. And as well, I think there is an option to actually go choose specifically like what story point field I want to map to Lucid's estimate field. So I can show just how that appears here on the canvas. So this will be the same for Jira as well, but like for ADO. But once I select one of these cards, I can go here to the edit menu again and go to settings. And this is in the same spot that I mapped my dates for the timeline. So you can see here this estimate field is available. Now by default, we try to do some smart mapping to identify so that you don't have to manually do this. But let's say you have a specific, estimate field that you want to use instead. You can go in here and select that, and then you can apply that if you want to all of those, and you can click save. So I'd recommend to the users that may be experiencing some issues there, potentially try adjusting that mapping there and see if that works. But the other thing that comes to mind, Colin, is maybe there was a conditional formatting rule set up in the past on that document that would be showing that as well. So.
Okay, awesome. And I know we're going to show some conditional formatting here in a minute. So we did get a question about that. I think that is one of the coolest things if you really want to elevate things. So again, we'll get to that here in a second.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead here and let's say I'm just going to move this board up a little bit. Let's say I have a bunch of work that I want to be playing out over the next few sprints. This is one of my favorite activities to do with the team is we can go ahead and bring in that work. So I've got a JQL query here. Remember I can do that either through, the import flow here on the left and, put this in here, or I can also go ahead and do this directly on the dynamic table for Jira. And I'm going to go ahead and sync these issues. So what you'll notice is I've actually gone through and I've pivoted or set my row or my columns to be sprints here. So I can start seeing, okay, how is my work sequenced? And on top of that, we even have a workload tracker that reads those estimate fields and sums them up. So if I go here on my dynamic table, so I just got to click kind of on this outline, go here to planning and tracking, I can show this workload tracker. And this is automatically summing up all of the different story points on these stories. So if I know like, hey, our team, normally according to our velocity, we can do like 12 points a sprint. I can look at this and say, wait, we're over planned a little bit. Let me go ahead and move this over here. And not only is this syncing back to Jira, you can see that, but it's also updated those estimates just at the top. Yep, and we're going to continue to show a couple other features here as well. So on my actual rows here, I can then go and say, oh, I want to look at this by, the epic, because that's how a lot of our work is actually sequenced here. So I went ahead and I pivoted by epic, and you can see that now I have that grouped and also continuing to be by sprint. Now, in a couple different things, or in a couple of cases, you may end up with some extra rows that you no longer need. And a great way to get rid of those is you just select the outline of it, and you can click backspace on your keyboard, and that makes it so that you can keep those to be just what you want to be focusing on. And additionally, sometimes there might be cases where you want to color stuff because something means a certain thing, or you want to just, make it a little bit more fun. We always enjoy making some stuff look great on Lucid. So I can just go here, I can select a row, I can even select the color, and then I can even select to fill the row with that same color as well. So there's really a lot of flexibility on how you actually want to visualize your stories and your work on the canvas here. Okay, now I know we got a question about conditional formatting. So I'm going to go through and just show one basic example. Oftentimes, there might be certain fields that are really important to you and your organization. Let's say, you really want to make sure that any of the stories that you're planning out have estimates put on them. And you would really like to make, the card show up as red or have some sort of icon. We can totally do that. So this is going to be a little bit more complex. So we'll make sure to, add an article in the chat about conditional formatting if you want to learn more. But I just want to scratch the surface for some of you, people that might be like me. I love diving into formulas and data and things like that. And Lucid shines bright in that area. It is amazing what is possible. So I'm just going to show one basic example. Now, what I'm going to do is we're currently in the Lucid Spark environment, which is one of our two products that's focused really on the whiteboarding interface. And we also have Lucid Chart, which is kind of more of our traditional technical diagramming flowchart product. And I can actually just swap straight over to that product and see that interface by clicking here and going to edit in Lucid Chart. And thanks to this feature we call Universal Canvas, everything is still on the board. I just now have access to a lot of the rich feature sets that typically have been used in other workflows from this Lucid Chart interface. Once I've done that, I can click on this wand icon here on the left for conditional formatting, and I can create a rule here. And from here, I can go through and say, hey, I want this to only affect certain stories or visualize certain stories formatting based off of underlying Jira data. So I can click here and say if, change this to shape data, which will then let me reference actual fields on these Jira cards. So I can go through and say, okay, I want my story point estimate. If that's empty, I want to flag that. I want to make it really easy for everyone to see that these cards need to be estimated. So I can do that with some styling. I can customize like how that appears, or I personally love using icons. So we have an icon library here. You can even upload your own icons as well. But I can go say, hey, like this is a story that needs some attention. I can even customize what it'll look like when I actually hover over that little icon. So I can say this story needs to be estimated. And then I can customize where is this going to show on the card face. So you can see that happening live right here. I can go say, hey, I want this to be, maybe in the bottom left. That'll scoot over my little assignee, and I can add that. And now I'm going to go ahead and save. And now if I go hover over this, I can see this story needs to be estimated. Now,
Love it.
I'm sure people have, a lot of ideas that are coming to mind now. You don't have to do this just on, just the data here. You can use our rich formula library to do lots of different things. So if you're interested in formulas, you can look that up and go through and build out super complex, amazing things. I've seen some phenomenal things done by our customers. So really would be excited to hear what you guys come up with.
Yeah, Katie put an emoji in the chat that, and Sarah is putting one in too. That was kind of my face. I think it was just last week or 2 weeks ago on a call with you, Spencer, when a customer was like, hey, I've been working on some conditional formatting rules. I have one question. And they pulled up a doc that had like on each card, basically around every corner, different badges of like flagging certain things, showing different, how this was connected. And I was like, holy cow. But she talked about like, this is where we go through, we do this, it's quarterly, like talked about all the things. And it was super powerful. So again, there's a lot of power on the surface for you. The deeper you want to and are willing to go, the more you can make this visually pop, flag things, and really like drive insights across your organization. So I love that you show that, and love that we got the response that I often give our customers when I see stuff that I'm like, I've worked here way too long to not know that you could do that, but thank you, customer, for figuring it out. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Colin, I know we're like running short on time here, so I really want to make sure that we have time for some additional Q&A that we haven't had a chance to answer. I'm just going to show one or two more things real quick, and then we're going to get into some of the last closing stuff we want to share, and also do some of the questions you guys have submitted. So, like we showed earlier with sprint planning, super easy to go in here and add a visual activity to go through and visualize like what's the confidence across the team, and you can do that same thing. In addition, I love using Lucid for retros. Retros is like a common thing across the board, right? If you're using Jira, ADO, if you're just doing Agile, or even just you have an event go on, you want to talk about it afterwards. I love using Lucid for it. And there's a couple of reasons. One, we have a lot of templates that you can use for this. But in addition, we also recently introduced private mode, which I think someone just asked about in the chat. So this makes it easy for people to then go in and drop comments without your actual author showing on the sticky notes. So I'm going to go ahead and click this here. I have a couple settings. I can go in and say I want to keep the authors hidden afterwards. So there can be like a mode where you want to go drop stickies and afterwards show who wrote it. But in addition, you can also adjust it so it never shows that. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and we'll give some information to the users. And Colin, I can see your cursor right there just disappeared. So I want you to go write a couple notes on here. So you can see Colin's writing some stuff in. I'll go write a couple things in. There's a little icon saying, this is some information about how this is in private mode. And then after I, type all this stuff in, we need to do better at XYZ. We can go through and do that. And then I can actually go and have private mode end for everyone. It will notify them as well that I'm ending the private mode. And then afterwards, the sticky note content will be revealed. And depending on the settings that you've done, it will continue to be hidden or not hidden. So really wanted to share that with everyone.
And I would just point out, you saw how Spencer accessed that by just clicking like private mode right there on the canvas. Those are, again, in those quick tools, right? So for a lot of you, you are probably facilitators, or maybe you're even like an agile coach and you're training other people. When you're going through a retro or other events, sometimes it's hard to like stay organized or focused. What we've put in a lot of our templates is basically those quick actions so that there's preset timers like agenda 5 minutes, retrospective 20 minutes. So then you're not like, oh crap, I forgot to set the timer. Or if it's a new facilitator, they kind of have these easy buttons along the way so that as they go through, they kind of have these like milestones, right? That they can kind of hit. Oh, I want to make sure and turn on private mode. Well, instead of having to remember, just put it right there on the canvas. Same thing with a timer, same thing with call others to me, whatever it might be. So I have found that those are really helpful in meetings that I've been in recently to just set myself up for success as a facilitator, but it also makes it so that it's so much easier for everyone on the call to kind of come along with you and not get lost.
Yeah, I love that, Colin. There's so much more you can do with Lucid that we unfortunately don't have all day to go through. But just like you mentioned, right, I can just add one straight on the canvas, and that starts a 10-minute timer in case we want to go through and give everyone some time to throw some sticky notes in our retro. So awesome. Well, that's really most of the stuff we wanted to cover today. Colin, what do we want to do next here?
Yeah. First, just thank you. This was you guys were all so engaged. Awesome questions. Fun to see the enthusiasm. Hopefully you come away from this with like new things you want to try in Lucid. A couple things that came up really quick that I just want to make sure is people were asking about the real-time sync in many different ways. So I'm going to kind of group multiple questions into like, do I need to download the cards at some point, or do they automatically sync back? They're seeing the when they update Lucid, it goes to ADO, but when they're updating ADO, they're not seeing that reflected in Lucid. Like, can you talk through a little bit just like how the sync works, timing that you can and should expect, any tips if they're not seeing updates, just kind of as a general topic?
Yeah, no, great questions. We get these often. So as you make changes from Jira or from Lucid to Jira or to ADO, generally those changes should be reflected pretty quickly, like within maybe 10, 15 seconds. So those changes are always going to be very quick. I'm just going to say very quick syncing here. On the way back, we have several different processes that we run to make sure everything stays in sync. Now, as long as your admin has set up the integration correctly on their side for Jira and ADO, syncing generally should happen pretty quickly, like within maybe 30 seconds to a minute max on changes from ADO or from Jira back to Lucid when you have that Jira issue or Azure DevOps work item open on that board. So that really just makes sure that we're not asking Jira or ADO for information that you haven't imported onto the board, and we're really prioritizing syncing those. In addition, we also have other processes that regularly go and ask Jira or ADO for updates on those issues to make sure we didn't miss anything. So it can vary based off of your individual situation. And if you are noticing like, hey, it's been 5, 10 minutes, even 15 minutes and things aren't syncing, please reach out to our support team and we'd love to take a look into it for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Another one, if you still have Jira open in another tab, someone's asking where you see the changes in Jira that were made via Lucid. So just kind of understanding like how that is logged. We've heard this multiple times, but someone mentioned, management's concerned about accidental data changes. So like, where do you see that update in Jira? Is there a way to like undo, or is it just logged? Like if you can talk through kind of the data there.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and actually take this issue here, and I'm going to go ahead and assign assignee. So I'm going to assign that to Seth. I'm going to wait for that to sync for a second, and I'll show you exactly where that will show up on the Jira side. So we'll just give it 1, 2 more seconds here. Can vary depending on traffic and things like that. Maybe you see that has synced. I'm going to go ahead and open this Jira issue as well. And now I can see that the assignee has been set. Now, if you ever want to take a look and figure out who actually made the changes and things like that, you can click on the history tab here. And in this case, I'm on our demo account. So this is showing, that the demo account made that change, but you can see that just as if I made the same change within, Jira here. So I can, make a change here in Jira. And if I refreshed, it would show very similarly that I made the change. Now, I'm pretty confident that there is a way to see this level of history in Azure DevOps. I just am personally not as familiar with that area. So I would look for something similar to what we have here in Jira.
Awesome. And this question came in a while ago. I don't want to miss it. There's someone that uses Jira Kanban cards instead of like sprint cards.
Yep.
Does it work the same? You can bring them in as Lucid cards. I assumed so, but didn't want to say anything wrong.
Yeah. So sprint boards and Kanban boards are, slightly different in the fact that Kanban doesn't use, sprints, but you can bring that in and you could, set this up to be based off of status if that would be best for your workflow. You can customize and say, hey, yeah, I want this to be over here. And then, you can do the same thing of visualizing just like that. So.
Yeah. And that's, again, I'll just reemphasize, like, if you're going through this, if you're going through any of our resources and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool, but I don't know how I would do that, or we do it a little bit different, or your template kind of works, but not fully, like reach out to us, post in the community, reach out if you have a customer success manager, whatever, because Lucid's super flexible. We want to make it work for you, right? And I would say overwhelmingly, that's the feedback we get is people are able to make that work.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Michaela put a link in the chat as well for a follow-up thread. I'll be monitoring that and making sure that we pass all those questions on or respond to those and pass any additional feedback on. So feel free to throw things in there.
Okay, awesome. There was one other question. I know we only have like 1 minute left. When you're in the timeline view, is there a way, and maybe it's through conditional formatting, or maybe there's something we're working on, or maybe the answer is, sorry, not really, is there a way to show like percentage complete in that timeline view, or like kind of track how things are going? Or is there another way that you found that, I know that there's dynamic shapes. I've seen some of our customers do that.
Yeah. Let me show just one example real quick that will, basically open up the answer here. You can reference these timeline rows or these dynamic columns and things like that with formulas. So we're not going to go through any specifics here, but I'll just show you that I can go ahead and bring in the content and the estimates here. And based off of that, it'll bring in all of the estimates from this row, and I can even sum these up here as well. And I can create formulas and then also, do sort of the things of like, okay, now I want to filter that down to just show the ones in progress versus. So we've seen people do it. You can absolutely do it. We don't have time to go through it here, but with our formula system and our shapes that we have, definitely can make it possible.
Yep. Awesome. Well, we're at time. This was so great. Spencer, thank you so much. It's always nice to be on this side of the demo and let someone else drive it. But again, hopefully everyone comes out of this excited and energized to try new things. And as we said, please post in the community questions you have, or if you do something really cool and you want to share it, post in the community, inspire the rest of you all. One of the things I've loved about learning more about Agile and getting into that is how much of a community it is. So again, Lucid's here to continue to help all of your teams and let us know how we can help and let each other as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Colin. Thank you everyone for joining, and we'll talk to you later.